Hey everybody, welcome to the round 7 preview. Almost a third of the way in to season 2022. It's unbelievable. Now this week, it's Carlton and North Melbourne, 7:25 p.m. on Saturday night at Marvel Stadium. There's a lot going on. First of all, apologies, there's no neon light. The internet's crashed here over the last few days. Just challenges are coming left, right and centre, but we have to plug along. And I think it's not so different to our group as well. We've had challenges that have presented themselves over the course of the last couple of weeks. And this match is fascinating because on the surface, I say to myself, okay, well, if we really are this improved team and, where we are in our development and 7 years into the rebuild, all of that, then we should be beating North Melbourne. But last year, and really not just last year, but any game in the AFL, if you come with any attitude other than full respect for the opposition, and if you are just that 4 to 5% off your best, I really do believe any team can beat anyone on any given day. And North Melbourne is no different. They have had 2 poor weeks by their own admission. They lost by 60 last week to the Geelong Footy Club. They lost by 68 the week before to the Doggies on the Good Friday match. I was at that match. I mean, from what I've seen from North Melbourne, they've got some serious talent here and there, and ultimately I do watch them and get a little frustrated at times, and I'm sure their supporters do as well. Just some of the skill errors that they make can really frustrate, and I know that from my own experience watching our group over the last few years. Some of the basic skill errors that we have been making over the last few years have been really frustrating, and it's just, I don't know, the majority of me is confident about this week, and the majority of me says that we are a better team. And call me cocky, call me arrogant, I just think we are a better team than North Melbourne. But that doesn't mean we're going to win this week because I think that. So I'm sort of 90% confident. Then there's this little 10% in the back of my mind that just wonders and thinks about last year. And again, this year has always been about earning that respect back from the competition. And just because we've started relatively well, and we're 4-2, doesn't mean we've earned it back. I think it's going to take a full season of having a positive record above 50% or above 500 for us to really earn that respect. So, there's last year, which was probably one of 5 results last year, which were deplorable, embarrassing, just really, really nothing short of almost negligent to their duty to the football club and to the community and to the fan base and to the paying members. So I'm looking at this game as I guess some sort of a retribution for what happened last year, but also focusing more on us this year and earning that respect back and just getting the damn job done, and working towards that ultimate professionalism that we want to see and that high performance that they've been telling us about over the off season. And now we're well and truly into the season. The emotional, I guess the emotional spark that we had at the start of the year has now settled. New coach, new game plan, Sam Doherty playing again, all of that. It was all new and emotions were high. Now we're starting to get right into the nitty gritty. And last week that the criticism was around our, bottom 6 or bottom 8 players, and rightly so. We had quite a fair few underperformers last week. And I am expecting that to change this week. I think our top liners relatively did their job for the most part, still probably weren't as damaging as what they can be. And so this week I'm looking for a much improved Carlton. And I was calm last week. Like, I know that we lost and we lost in a pretty bad way in the end. Didn't really make it close, but I was calm because I was able to look at the whole picture of where we're at. Whereas this week, I'm a little bit more, I guess, I don't know if the word's agitated, or I'm a little bit more anxious about this week, because this one is a pure expectation. Like, we're not losing to North Melbourne this week. And if we do, I'll be filthy. Absolutely filthy. But again, that doesn't mean that we're going to win because I feel that way. So I'm confident but mindful, as I have been for the majority of my life supporting this club. Now, the big, news in terms of the team selection is obviously Mark Pitternet. He won't play.
And Fuck, man.
Yeah,
Fuck.
I know.
It still fucking bothers me.
I'm not salty. I'm devastated. That's what I am. Absolutely devastated, and I can't shake it. It kind of reminds me of when Carazzo's collarbone was broken due to a Sam Lonergan tackle when he drove him into the ground, and it kind of was the beginning of the end. And I'm not suggesting that that's going to happen with us, but it just reminded me of that feeling. That was the flashback that I had. And I waited until the prognosis came out and we were confirmed that Pito had actually done the PCL. I remember at the time thinking, gee, Darcy didn't even look at him at the ball. He looked straight at the man. That's the first red flag. And then he jumped forward. That's the second red flag. When I played footy, I played in the ruck. And that's your worst fear. The knee-on-knee PCL, it really is. And the fact that we lose Pito and the game loses Grundy as well, it's devastating. It's devastating for the league. So, yeah, it was an interesting situation. But as devastated as I am, I'm equally as excited because what an opportunity for Tom De Koning. This is literally the opportunity of his career. And I think over the course of the next month, we're going to know, first of all, exactly where he's at and where his preparation has led him to. And secondly, we'll probably get a better picture as to what the future will hold. And I've made a comment early in the week about I feel like this narrative around him is changing rapidly because last year it was very much centered around get Tom in. He's our number one ruckman for the future. That's what he's going to be. Many people were saying he should have been, the number one ruck option in round one, and now we're going forward with Tom. Then we started realizing that Pito is very valuable in the way he's able to bully and be physical, which Tom doesn't have just yet. He's obviously a physical player, but just not as much as Pito is. So the narrative is now, Tom is a forward ruck. He's not a ruck. He's a forward. So I disagree. I think Tom's a ruckman who can go forward. And I remember we were getting games into him in the VFL early in his career in the forward line as well, just to work on that craft. I think he's got the best of both worlds, but ultimately, as it stands right now, it's Tom De Koning. And I'm excited for him. I'm also very mindful of the need to get behind him. And I know that we can get very frustrated and we can get agitated when things don't go our way, but I'm going to be very patient with Tom. He's yet to play 50 games. He's still very early in his career, but I think he's put on enough size on the body to withstand, the next month or so. And then, I don't know, we'll talk about the mid-season draft and we'll think about that when it comes. But I really do think the next month is crucial for him and for us because, again, this is a win-loss business and we need to win games and we need to put ourselves in a position to make finals football and can't think too much about Pito, even though I fucking want to and I want to fucking... It's so frustrating when you put so much energy into something that you can't even control. And I ask myself all the time, why? Why do I do it? But I do it anyway. It is what it is. So Tom gets his chance now. Big talking points this week around what are we going to do? Are we going to make 4 or 5 changes and make a statement? I don't know. We bring Cottrell and Noons in. They play relatively well the first week that they're in. Not so well the second week. Do you drop them straight away? Do you bring in, Stocker's name's been thrown up. Jack Carroll's name's been thrown up. Brody Kemp, Motlop. I don't know what the answer is. I think of the players who I would definitely want back in this side, Kennedy and Jack Silvani are absolute certainties. I'm hoping that they'll be fit to play. They are 2 important pieces. They're in our best 22. They are. So I would love to see them back in. And then I really just don't know what you do with Cottrell and Noons. I'm just, again, like I've said all year, I'm just going to leave it up to the coaching panel and kind of go from there. I'm not sure. The other talking point is Murkov. Now, if Tom's not ready, I don't understand how Murkov will be ready. But at the same time, Paul Sebastiani made a good point on the Blue Abroad show on Monday night. And he said, well, he's on the list. So if he's on the list, he's on your senior list. So therefore, he's eligible to play. And if the need arises, he should be, expected to be ready to play. So I'm just really mindful of bringing him in too early. Now, having said that, on the other side, Tristan Sherry is the ruckman for North Melbourne. I think people have forgotten that Todd Goldstein does not ruck all the time for North Melbourne anymore. He plays more of a forward role, and they're really pushing forward with Sherry. Coleman Jones is another one that's been in good form for them in the reserves. So they're keeping I had to listen to David Noble. They're keeping that really tight-lipped as to which way they're going to go. But regardless, I don't want to disrespect Sherry, but I'm just not as daunted by the idea of De Koning going up against him as opposed to De Koning going up against a Sean Darcy type who, is an elite ruckman and maybe one of the best 2 or 3 in the league. So that's what I'm thinking about that situation. It is important. Now, we still won the clearances and the contested possessions last week without Pitto for the majority of that game. So it can be done. It's just going to take an adjustment. And again, not only is it a test for the group, it's a test for the coaching staff. And how can they be creative now? What do we do? You've got Lewis Young, who's tall enough to pinch hit there. Jack Silvani, we know, will try his guts out and he'll play a role, whatever he needs to do for the team. So, there's a little bit of angst. I'm not going to lie. A little bit of angst. And that's because, I feel like we're right on the limit of how many players we can lose. We can afford to lose with this group. Like, I think our depth is okay, but I don't think our depth is great. And I think we're right on the precipice of it being one too many players before we start really faltering because of it. And that's just my honest opinion. That's just how I sense it. I don't think we can afford to lose too many more of our best 22. So, ultimately excited. The response is going to be crucial. Are we going to be able to put ourselves in a strong position like we have at times this season? And if so, are we going to be able to carry on with it and finish the game? I'm looking for a big step forward in our ability to be professional and manage the game. And I do expect us to win this game. Like, I thoroughly expect us to win this game. And they should as well. I want us to move towards this situation and this body language of being the better team, being the bully. But North Melbourne, they always fucking bring it to us. They always do. So I'm a little confused at times when I think about this game. But we'll see how it plays out. Now, what about you? What do you think about, first of all, the ruck situation and how we manage that? Are you team Murkov and De Koning, or are you team De Koning with Silvani and whoever else chopping out? Also, the other team selection questions that we have. How many are you bringing in? How many are you pulling out? What would you do if you were coach? I think, I'm really interested to see how we are at this point in the week now that the emotion of last week has sort of dwindled down a little bit, and we'll go from there. So I look forward to seeing what you have to say, and go the Mighty Blues.